Welcome to Emmylou One-on-One, an interview conversation, sharing stories, telling experiences, one life at a time, so you can be inspired and motivated to keep growing in life, so you can make your dreams happen. As always, we try to share and tell experiences lived by real-life people, and this week is no different. This week, our guest has been awarded as the Outstanding Negrosanon in Education and Literature and have also won 2 awards, National Book Award. The first was in Best in Literary Studies and second was Best Novel in a Foreign Language. Let's welcome back to the show. Well, it's welcome back because I've interviewed her before, maybe about 3 years ago. Let's welcome back to the show, Dr. Cecile Nava. Dr. Cecile, thank you.
Welcome.
For giving us your time. Doc, for those who may not have heard your story,
yes.
Can we sort of give them a refresher of your breast cancer story and how you survived it?
Okay. Well, it started in the year 2000. My millennium gift was I had breast cancer.
Okay.
So I greeted
the year 2000.
The year 2000 with, well, I had a mastectomy. My right breast was removed.
Okay.
Because I had breast cancer stage 2B, almost 3rd stage.
Okay.
Okay. And since then, it's been a roller coaster ride because cancer loves me so much, it keeps coming back.
Okay.
So I passed the 5-year period, and I celebrated because my nephew, who was a surgeon, told me that if you pass the 5-year period without cancer, then that is a really good sign that you won't get it again.
Okay.
So I did. I celebrated on the 5th year, and then it came back on the 6th.
On the 6th year.
Yes, in the same spot. And then on the 7th year, it came back again, and it was in my bone.
Okay.
Okay. And so, well, I got treatment. It was contained. And then something like 2 years ago, it came out in my lungs.
Again.
Because I had cancer nodules in my lungs. So until now, I'm under treatment for bone cancer and, well, the nodules in my lungs. Okay.
So you were diagnosed with bone cancer at that time?
Yeah, and I still have it because I'm still undergoing treatment for it.
So that's the thing, because we also, like, we try to talk to people who are not just over the struggle, and for people who are going through the struggle and still surviving and overcoming it.
I think with cancer, you never really say you're over it until you're dead.
But you're feeling good. I mean, you know, you look good and all.
You should think positive.
Yes.
It's the only way to lick the disease.
Right.
The only way to win over it. Okay.
So, Doc, during that time, I remember when we talked the first time that you were like struggling with cancer, sa imo, and then you had another battle that goes with it.
Yeah.
And how did you like overcome that? Can you refresh our audience mind on that?
Well, I think it helps to have a positive attitude to life, because when I had my mastectomy, my doctor told me, my oncologist told me, you're no different from other people because like it or not, or believe it or not, the Philippines has been leading in cancer the last 20 years. So you're no different from the next person. So she said, the treatment, is only 10%. The rest is up to you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I took that to mean that, well, I should cure myself.
Yes.
Okay, and that's what I have done because aside from being very vigilant about cancer coming back again, and it has come back again and again, I have kept a positive attitude about life, and part of the positive attitude was to put up a breast cancer support group.
Okay.
Okay, so in 2003, I founded Bosom Care, the Bacolod Breast Cancer Support Group. Because when I had my cancer, and I went to Manila for my surgery, my son, who understood it better than I did because he was a nurse, he's a nurse, and me, I didn't know much about cancer. I mean, you know, at that point in time in my life, I was more worried about my husband than about myself.
Yes.
Because my husband had, well, he had organ failure. He was a diabetic and he was undergoing hemodialysis. So while I was undergoing chemotherapy, he was undergoing hemodialysis, and I could see that his situation was worse than mine.
Okay.
So I was more worried about him than I was about myself. And well, let's put it this way: with two of us sick, often one time I looked across the bed and he was lying down. I was lying down too, and I said to myself, one of us has to stand up and lick the disease, because if I don't, I mean, if not one of us will stand up, I mean, if we just, you know, give in, and that will be the end of the two of us. And so since the woman usually is the caregiver, I decided I should be the one who will survive, and I did, because after I was through with my chemotherapy, he died.
Okay.
So it was kind of a double whammy. Okay. So what I did was I founded a breast cancer support group. I looked for other cancer survivors, okay, and we shared stories with each other, because the worst thing that can happen to you if you're a cancer patient is the feeling of being alone.
Yes.
With nobody to share, you know, your feelings with. And you could really go under with depression.
Yes.
Okay. So the idea is to find, you know, kindred souls with whom you can share your experience, okay? And I did that by looking for other breast cancer survivors. And I was very happy about the way the whole thing turned out, because I found a lot of like-minded people. Unfortunately, many of them have died since then. So we were something like 40 strong, and we're something like 20 only left. So something like half of us have been, you know, demolished, decimated by cancer.
From the time that you founded
From the time I founded it. Okay, what we do is we do hospital visitations. We help other women who are, you know, less fortunate than we are, and then we bring oncologists, cancer specialists to Bacolod, who give cancer seminars or cancer conferences or symposia, and this is for free. And now we are negotiating with Corazon Locsin Montelibano Regional Hospital, because we will be underwriting the cost of free mammograms and 3 breast ultras every year for 3 indigent women.
Okay, so that's every year.
Every year, starting this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Doc, you mentioned about your oncologist telling you that 10% is the treatment and 90% of that
is yours.
Yes.
It's up to you. She
Yes.
said, it's up to you.
So how did you do it? Like, what's the up to you part that you did to overcome it?
I think it's important to be upbeat about the whole thing and not, you know, kind of go under. The important thing is to keep in touch with other people. The important thing is to find, you know, important, meaningful things to do. Okay. So I got a lot of inspiration from women who had already founded, who had their own breast cancer support group. Because what they did was they provided me with a lot of materials which helped me, you know, overcome cancer. Okay, and so I thought to myself, these women don't even know me. We never met. We just, you know, kind of emailed each other. So when I go back to Bacolod, because at that point in time, there was a movie which was showing, and the title was Pay It Forward. Okay, and this is about a little boy who decided that for every good thing that is done to him, he will pay it forward by doing a good thing for the next person he meets. Okay, so I said, what I will do is this: since some people have helped me, when I go back to Bacolod, I'm going to, you know, put up a breast cancer support group and help other women. And so I derive a lot of inspiration from that.
Yeah. So in essence, actually, Doc, you are like really inspiring us to go beyond ourselves and what we feel at the moment.
Oh yes, definitely you should transcend, you know, the personal.
Yes. How did you cope with the challenge that after you just finished chemotherapy, you had to go through the sorrow of losing your husband?
Well, actually, I think it was a godsend because since, a lot of people sometimes, get so focused on their problems that they get eaten up with it.
Yes.
Okay. But in my case, I had no time for that because my husband's situation was much worse than mine. Okay. And so therefore, I was more focused on him than I was on myself. And I think that helped me because what happened was, I went through chemotherapy, and chemotherapy is something you don't wish even on your worst enemy.
Really?
Yeah, you lose your teeth, you lose your hair, you lose your eyebrow, your nails turn black, your gums, become loose, and then you're always feeling nauseous, and enervated, you don't have any energy. But these are the sort of things that you have to transcend it, you have to conquer it, because if you don't, then that's really the end of you.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That's our first lesson for this week's conversation. That is to not think of yourself, but to think of others. We will talk more when we come back. Welcome back to Emmylou One-on-One, and we are still with Dr. Cecile Nava. Now, Doc, first off, antes na why people might be asking me, why do I call you Doc? That's because you finished your PhD degree.
Well, actually, believe it or not, I was meant to finish, Doctor of Medicine course. It was the first course I took. Only a few people know that, but I really finished my pre-med. Okay, that is why when people introduce me and they say, this is Doc Nava, and then I always say, I'm a doctor, I don't make house calls. And recently I met a doctor who told me that, do you know that is the title of a book written by a doctor in the States? I don't make house calls.
Yeah. Anyway, so Doc, we left off with our first conversation, we left off with how you actually overcame the cancer. Yes, how you coped with it. Okay. Doc, how did you find out that when your cancer returned, it was now the bones? And how did you react to it after that?
Well, of course I had pain. It's like, like everything else, just like my breast cancer, there are signs.
Yes.
Okay? So if you will remember, I think I told you that in the first episode that you did, that we did together, told you that actually, I was the one who kept on insisting I had cancer because I was misdiagnosed by at least 5 doctors, which made me panic and which made me decide to go to Manila. Because I said, my God, if 5 doctors misdiagnosed me, I just imagine what will happen to me if I stay here. Now, because actually what happened was, every year when I go to my OBGY for my pap smear, I would sit in front of I would sit in front of this National Cancer Society poster, which says the 5 signs of cancer are. Okay. And they are: 1, you have a lump. Okay. 2, your skin changes color. It takes on an orange peel quality. If you take a close look at an orange, you will see that it has, small
pores,
yes. The pore of the skin gets enlarged. Okay. So
that made me look for my
it was an orange peel quality. Then if you lift your arm, you will see a dimpling under your breast. Okay. And then you shouldn't wait for that last stage. And then it expels, a liquid. Okay, so all right. So I felt I had cancer. That's why I always tell people, never underestimate woman's intuition, your sixth sense. Because, this feeling that you cannot explain, there's no rational explanation. Yes. That you have a feeling that you have it. I felt I had it. Only, I had no lump. Because it turned out that the cancer was, buried deep. Okay. Deep in my breast, right? And, it took hours for the doctor to take it out. Okay. So, There was no lump. But there was an orange peel quality to my skin. And stupid me, I thought I should go see a dermatologist.
Which I think
Which
is just
I did.
natural for women.
Yeah, okay. So I went to 3 dermatologists, and all 3 of them, you know, came to the same conclusion that I had fungal infection. So they kept giving me these expensive creams, and I kept buying them, and there was no improvement.
Okay.
And then one day, when I was about to take a shower, I lifted my arm, and I saw a dimpling under my breast, and I said, "Oh my God, orange peel quality. I feel I have a lump, okay, and now there is a dimpling under my breast. I have all the signs of cancer." So I told my doctor, and my OBGY then was a male, and that's why I tell my friends now, get a female OBGY.
Sorry, males.
Not a male OBGY, because if it's a male OBGY, you feel kind of inhibited about asking questions.
Yes,
no?
yes.
Because I would say, "Doc, you know, I feel I have a lump." And he says, and then I said, "Please palpate." And then he would palpate, you know, in a very cursory way. And I feel embarrassed to tell him, you know, because my friend, the late Mirna Sarvando, well, she was quite a character. I really miss Mirna because she has a fantastic sense of humor. And she said, you know, I would tell the doctor, said,
Don't be so shy.
But the point is, you know, many of us, especially those of us who went to religious schools, you know, we grow up so inhibited and so, you know, very prudish about our body. We don't even touch it and all. And so we feel ashamed, embarrassed to tell the doctor to, you know, to do a more thorough breast examination. But if it is a female doctor, since it's a woman like you don't feel embarrassed. So I always tell, learn from me. Don't get an OBGY who's a male, because you'd feel embarrassed, you know, to ask him to do a closer inspection of your breast, because it's an intimate part of your anatomy. Okay, so anyway, that was what happened. I mean, I learned about it because what happened was I was the one who kept insisting I had cancer. And all the doctors I went to kept telling me there was none. Okay.
So they might just be thinking that you were just imagining things.
Exactly, probably thought that, you know, I was out of my mind or whatever. I was, you know, obsessive compulsive or hypochondriac about my health.
Exaggerating.
Yeah, but for me, it's very important that a woman knows her body, and she should listen to it.
Yes.
She should, you know, if there's anything unusual or, you know, different that happens, you should listen to your body and go to your doctor. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is if you are in denial.
Yes.
Or if you know, you dismiss the pains and aches that you feel because, you know, you don't want to be obsessive compulsive about it, or you don't want to give the impression that you are being hypochondriac. Okay, so anything that is out of ordinary, I think you should go see your doctor. So that was what happened to me. I felt pain in my chest.
Yes.
Okay, and it's not the normal kind of pain that, you know, that one ordinarily feels. And so I went to my oncologist, and she referred me to a very good orthopedic oncologist.
Okay. And so other than the pain, Doc, what was it like? I mean, because it's different from the breast cancer pain, and this one is bone. And it's like, for some people, that they would even consider that scarier, like something more scary.
It is scary, yes, definitely. Scary because bone cancer is the most painful cancer of all.
And you can even laugh about it, Doc.
Well, look, really, you know, if you have a sense of humor,
yes,
you will actually conquer everything.
Yes.
I think the important thing is not to lose your sense of humor.
Right, exactly, which I agree, really. And then, so after that, you took therapy again?
The doctor, and then he underwent MRI and bone scan and all that. And he said, well, I have news for you, from breast it went to bone. Because it seems like this is the way cancer goes. it goes to the organs with the most blood.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be what? Your bone, your bones, your lungs, your internal organs, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay. That's the reason why, when I had a scare because I had another misdiagnosis, and one doctor told me that my cancer had transferred to my left breast.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, let's remove the breast. I will never forget the first time, I had a mastectomy. The first time, well, I had only one mastectomy. When I had my mastectomy, my surgeon asked me, told me, because usually there is counseling before they remove your breast. Okay, and he told me, he said, "How do you feel about you losing your breast?" And then I told him, I said, "Really, doctor, I don't have much breast to start with. It took 2 babies for me to, get promoted from a size 32 to a size 34. So if you remove my breast, it is really my self-esteem is not anchored on my breast. So it is really no problem to me."
Yes.
Because, it can be a very lacerating experience for a woman, especially, if you have a very beautiful figure.
Yes.
And you have very nice boobs, and then suddenly you lose your boobs,
Yes.
Well, I can understand that. Maybe I am luckier because I got it. I was postmenopausal. I was in my 50s when I got it. But it can be very lacerating experience if you're much younger.
Yes.
And especially if you happen to be the kind of person who puts so much stress in your physical appearance.
Exactly. Yes. And if your identity actually is in your physical
anchored in
appearance,
your physical appearance.
that would be
I
much
told my
harder.
doctor, I told him, I said, "Don't worry, my self-esteem is not anchored on my right breast."
And in spite of that, you have been busy with other advocacies that you have, and we will talk about that when we come back. Welcome back to Emmylou One-on-One, and we are still with Doc Cecile Nava. And then we were talking about, earlier on, we talked about her experience of overcoming breast cancer, and then now how she actually copes with bone cancer. Now, off screen, we talk about you're not sure if you're feeling arthritis or if it's just your bone
because
cancer.
I'm old, I have arthritis, okay? And my arthritis is, it's it's in my hips, it's in my hands, it's in my feet. I never know where it will show up. I have, painkillers, but I don't think there is really a medicine, something that really, cures arthritis.
Yes.
Anyway, when, I get these pains, these aches and pains, I always, tell myself, "Hay, ano ini man? Arthritis ini o bone cancer?"
And then you just take medicines.
I take medicine and I laugh it off because, well, what else can you do?
Yes, which is good. Doc, given that you have these challenges, still you're very persistent with this other advocacy that you have, and that would be literature.
Yeah, of course.
Now, you won 2 National Book Awards.
Okay, I also won 2 teaching awards.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, because I was the first most outstanding teacher of NOPSEA. That is Negros Occidental Private Schools Cultural Educational Association. Okay. And then after that, I won in Metro Bank.
Yes.
So one is a regional award and the other one is a national award.
Yes. So we see that when you take the focus off yourself, you can do a lot more.
Well, I think anybody for that matter, if you don't focus so much on yourself, I think you can get a lot of things done.
Yes. Doc, can you tell us the first book that you actually wrote that won the award?
Well, the first book I wrote was about Ramon Mosones because he was the subject of my dissertation.
Yes. Who is Ramon Mosones?
Ramon Mosones was actually a lawyer, but he was a novelist. Probably for me, I feel that he is the best Filipino novelist we have ever produced, and he is also the most, shall we say, prolific.
Yes.
Because he wrote an uncontested 61 novels in his lifetime.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and I don't think anybody can, can beat that.
Yes.
But the novels are not just, I mean, his novels do not, his achievement does not depend on the number of novels that you know. Because the novels are of very good quality.
Yes.
And when you consider that he was writing for a weekly magazine, and a weekly magazine before, like, I don't know if they are still around, but we used to have two, Ligaynon and New Home.
Yes.
And when I was growing up, actually that is how I taught myself how to read. Because every Friday when that magazine comes out, we would get off New Home and Ligaynon. The magazine gets passed from hand to hand.
Yes.
And it is read orally at home. And that's how, I learned about all the writers in Ligaynon.
Ramon is from Bacolod?
No,
or
he is from Iloilo.
Okay.
He was he was really a writer, and then eventually he went into politics during the time of Rodolfo Gamson. And he got disenchanted with politics. He went back to writing novels. Okay, so when I was when I applied for acceptance into the Philippine Studies program in UP, the program requires you to turn in a topic for your dissertation, which intersects 3 disciplines.
Okay.
That's why it's called interdisciplinary studies.
Yes.
So if you are in humanities, it should intersect humanities and maybe 2 disciplines in social science. So in my case, I chose literature and then sociology and anthropology.
Okay.
But then, of course, since I was dealing with something historical, I also had to bring in history.
Yes.
Okay. So this was my choice for a dissertation topic. Why? Because he wrote 61 novels. He was also a short story writer and a poet. But he was also a politician and a lawyer. It's got to be somebody who is in several, disciplines. So the first one was Magdalena Halandoni that was turned down. Okay. The second one was Jose Maria Nava. And an American historian by the name of Alma Coy beat me to the subject matter. So I couldn't compete with him. He had money, I didn't have money. The third one was Musones. So parang it was fated that I would work on him. I didn't know much about him, but I had heard that he was a very good writer and that nobody had written on him. So in the case, because the one thing that UP makes you do, it makes you sweat blood. They'll really make you suffer before they will allow you to do something. So every time I would turn in a topic, it was a no. And then on the third try, I got it. Okay, so what was so important about the guy? What was so important about the guy was that he captured socio-economic and political changes that happened in Iloilo after the war, from the 50s to the 60s. Okay. Because one of the things that you will notice about Negros and Bacolod and Iloilo, or Negros and Panay, is that many of us have the same family names as people in Panay.
Yes, yes.
Why is that? Because many of us trace our ancestry to Panay.
Yes,
I'm a very good example of that because my family name, my maiden name is Locsin. And that is really a Chinese family name. And we hail from Molo, or we trace our ancestry to Molo because that was the Chinese parian, the Chinese ghetto.
Yes.
Okay. So in Iloilo, there was a governor by the name of Nicolas Claveria who issued an edict. You have to have a family name with the same initial letter as the town from which you come from.
Oh, really?
So if you are from Dumangas, your family name should be something like Deriada. If you are from Haro, your name should be something like Haveliana. Okay. From Molo, you have Montelibano. Okay. And so forth and so on. So I challenge anybody in the audience to do that. Trace your ancestry.
Right,
okay.
right.
And then what happened was, Iloilo before was the center of the textile industry. The textile industry actually, self-destructed because of a guy by the name of Nicolas Luni, okay, who encouraged people to invest in the sugar industry in Negros. That is why Alma Coy says the sugar industry in Negros is built on the ashes of the textile industry of Iloilo. Because when the textile industry got destroyed, people came over here.
And that's why the sugar industry
Yeah,
started.
okay, yes. And Mosones did not write so much about this. He wrote about something else that happened after the war. What was this? Politics in Iloilo and in Bacolod before was the same. It was in the hands of the elite, the oligarchs.
Yes.
Okay. Something happened in Iloilo, which spelled the difference between Iloilo and Negros.
Okay.
What was this? There was a guy by the name of Rodolfo Ganson, okay, who burst into the political scene because he was actually a protege of the Lopezes, Fernando Lopez in particular. What he did was he bit the hand that fed him. He went against Lopez, okay, and ran against Lopez candidate, and he won because there was something which was happening in Iloilo.
Which I believe, Doc, is also happening here.
But not in the same pace, which is the reason why. I remember when I was very young, I remember my father saying this. In Iloilo nowadays, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can run for public office. Because it used to be that to run for public office, you have to have the right family name.
Yes.
And you have to have education and breeding.
Yes.
Okay? And so, take a look at Iloilo. Who were the first mayors? Fernando Campos, who was a physician and a landowner. Oscar Ledesma, who was a lawyer and a planter. Fernando Lopez, okay. And then after Rodolfo Ganson, you know Rodolfo Ganson? He campaigned using what we call smuggle, you know, rubber thongs, okay, chino pants, nagakabiseta lang siya. And then he drove a jeep because he came from the lower middle class. Okay, and when he goes around, he campaigns, he eats with his hands, and he tells people that I am like you. I used to be a jeepney driver, and he won.
Yes.
And that changed politics in Iloilo.
And I think not only in
And
Iloilo.
Musones captured that in a novel called Malignant Hunger. He calls it Malala nga Gutom. Because his point is, power corrupts.
Yes.
Okay? And there are, you know, there's a certain, power is like hunger. It eats you up.
That's why we have the term hungry for power or
Yes,
power hunger.
exactly.
And from beating cancer and overcoming cancer to political talks and
Yes.
writing, we will talk more when we come back. You are still with Emmylou One-on-One, and we are still with Doc Cecile Nava, and we talked about her strengths and how she is a strong woman and a brave one. And other than that, she also has time to devote herself to doing her advocacy. And we left off with our conversation on literature and your work on Mosones.
Okay.
And so you chose the person, Mosones, to be
That
to write
subject of
about,
my
yes.
dissertation.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you went on to write 3 more books, Doc.
Yeah, okay. So I finished my 5th just now, okay? But the ones that have been published are 4.
Yes.
Okay. We can show it probably to the audience
Yes,
later.
we talk actually.
Okay. The first one was really about Mosones because I felt that he was a very important figure. Okay. And were it not for such a thing as Manila cultural imperialism,
Yes.
which is my favorite topic. too.
Yes, and we can actually have one episode just for that.
Well, I feel that, you know, if regional writers are given a chance, they are just as good as the writers from Manila who write in Filipino or in English.
Yes.
It's just that we have this colonial mentality that we think one language is superior to another, which is not. Because
Yes.
no language is superior to another,
Yes.
okay?
I agree.
But because of our colonial experience under the Americans, you know, we think that people who write in English are better writers. This is the reason why a friend of mine who felt so despondent because her teacher in UP told her, I mean, she's a Palanca Award winning writer. She has won first prize 5 times. And then her teacher in creative writing told her, you know, your Palangka Award doesn't mean anything because you write in Hiligaynon.
Really?
Yeah, and she says, how many people really, you know, joined the short story writing contest in Hiligaynon? Just a few. Whereas the ones in Filipino and in English, you know, hundreds joined them.
Yes.
And so she said, you know, I felt so crushed and despondent when she told me that. I said, you're crazy. I said, it does not depend on the number of entries. It depends on the quality of the entries. And if the quality of your writing is very good, I don't see why you should feel bad about it.
Yes.
Okay? So it's the same with Musones. He wrote 61 novels. I think something like 5 of them are really superior, which is the reason why I have made it my lifetime's work to translate them into English, because I don't want a judge in the, you know, what they call the National Artist Award Committee to say, who's he? I've never heard about him. So I said, I'll just keep on, you know, translating him until, you know, people have heard of him.
Yes.
Then maybe he will stand a chance, because in all the 44 years when we have, you know, since the National Artist Award has been instituted, no writer from the region has ever won. And I feel that is so unfair.
Yes. We're not given a chance.
We're not given a chance. Just give him a Chinaman's chance of, you know, of fighting, of winning. He will win.
You really believe in him?
I really believe in him. I think we should.
Yes, I think so too, especially that he has lived to see and write about what he experienced during those years.
And just to prove to you that he's really a good writer, the first novel of his that I translated, which is Margo sa Tubig, was praised to high heavens by 2 national artists, Bienvenido Lumbera, who was my advisor in my masteral and in my, you know, in my PhD studies, and the other one is Virgilio Almario.
Yes.
And these are both of them writers of impeccable qualifications.
Yes. And I believe that the Marco sa Tubig was the book that won the National Book Award.
Yeah.
Is that the
best
for
novel?
your second one?
Yeah,
Yes.
best novel in the foreign language.
Yes.
But you know that book is changed publishing history in Iloilo, because when the novel was serialized for 33 weeks in Yuhom, the circulation of Yuhom jumped from 9,000 to 34,000.
Really?
So
Wow,
really,
that's really a
it
big
is
jump.
fantastic. Okay, so it gives you an idea that the novel is really good.
Yes, and that makes me more interested and curious about it.
You should read it.
Especially in
read it.
Hiligaynon.
Yes, in Hiligaynon, you know. But my point is, how many people know Hiligaynon? Not too many. Besides, I am thinking, I like to look, you know, I want to be, how shall we say, one has to be, one has to look forward, you know, instead of being simply reactive.
Yes.
One should be proactive. So I like to look forward to that day when he becomes a national artist and he will be read by people outside the Philippines.
Yes.
So I prepare for that by, you know, by translating him. And one of my favorite fantasies is that when I die and Sones and I will meet, you know, in the other life, he will pay me the supreme compliment that Gabriel Garcia Marquez paid his translator, Gregory Rabasa.
Yes.
I like your translation better than my original.
He would tell you that.
I like to think.
Yes.
That is my favorite fantasy.
I think, I mean, you know, that can be a valid fantasy. And you mentioned
It gives meaning to my life.
Yes, and you mentioned that when you get to actually get Musones nominated or win the award, you said that
I can die.
Yes. And that's why you're still surviving cancer now.
Yes,
because,
that's why I'm still here.
Yes, because
until
is not yet
he hasn't won yet.
Yes.
In short, I live for the day when he wins as national artist.
Yes.
When he wins as national artist, I can die.
Doc, you mentioned about Hiligaynon words. Can you give us like the first time we talked about like words in Hiligaynon, and then you were asking me words, and I was giving you the Hiligaynon words, and you were telling me that's not Hiligaynon.
Okay.
Can you give us a little bit of a refresher on that?
Okay. I think we have to make a distinction between Ilonggo and Hiligaynon because just as we make a distinction between Filipino and Tagalog, okay, when we say speaking Tagalog, we usually mean the colloquial language. So, like for instance, in Tagalog you say, intindi. Hindi ko naintindihan ito. Okay? But if it is in Filipino, hindi ko naunawaan yan. Okay? So it's the same in Hiligaynon and in, you know, in Hiligaynon and Ilonggo. Hiligaynon is the more poetic or it is the literary language, okay? And Ilonggo is the colloquial language, all right? So that is the reason why when I first met Musones, he thought very low of me because I did not know Hiligaynon, okay? Because he told me, all right, do you know that, okay, he told me something like, give me 5 words that means bye in Ilonggo. And I said, I did not know. I said, only bakal. And he says, no. Because depending on what you are buying, the word changes.
Okay.
So if you buy meat, you say hinguli. If you buy land, you say taba. Mataba kami duta. Mahinguli kami baboy. Okay. So, and I couldn't name the words, and therefore he said to me, ay, ano ka nga klase sing lunggang, hindi ka gani kabalo sa imo lingkay.
If he told you that, what more pag ako, mabakal ka baboy, I mean, you know, that's the same word.
Yes. Why is it like that? Because we don't study our own language. Why? Because we don't think it is much. Because of the colonial mentality that when English, you know, first Spanish came in, then English, right? So what is Spanish? We say lenguaje de alta sociedad, the language of people in high society, all right? And what is English? The language of educated people, okay? And what is Hiligaynon or Ilonggo? The language of the marketplace.
That's what they tell. But now we were in the hopes, and in your writings, you will change that.
Oh, but Musones changed all that because, you know, he wrote so well.
Yes.
But, you know, when you do translation, you realize that sometimes, you know, your efforts cannot really measure up to the person you are translating.
Yes.
That is why I said my favorite fantasy is when we meet in the next life, you will say, I like your version better than mine. Then I will feel that my translation was justified.
Yes, and that's a good fantasy. Doc, is there any other message, any more message that you would want to talk to the audience about, like overcoming sickness and then pursuing the advocacy such as your literature, whatever advocacy is for them?
I think one has to have advocacy because one should, you know, we are not in this world for ourselves. We are here for other people, okay? If you live only for yourself, that's a very narrow kind of life, okay? You actually, what? You actually realize yourself by serving other people. Okay? So that is why it's important to have advocacy because it gives meaning to your life.
Right.
Okay?
Doc, thank you for joining me on the program for the second time. And for talking a lot more than we talked from the first time that we had conversations. So we sure hope that you have been inspired by our conversation this week. And always remember that the story that you are living can inspire others as well. So please be brave to tell others that, because in doing that, you are able to lift others up. Don't forget to join the conversation online by leaving us a comment on any of the social media platforms that you can see on the screen. And as always, if you need prayer or encouragement, send us an email. As usual, we actually take those emails seriously. And if you want to be prettified, again, Billy Joe is your guy. His contact number is on the screen. You have just watched Emmylou One-on-One, an interview conversation, sharing stories, telling experiences, one life at a time, so you can be inspired and motivated to keep growing in life and to make your dreams happen. Join me again next week for another insightful and meaningful conversation. I am Emmylou F. Iman. Thank you for watching.